Welcome to Rapid Fire Crypto Rundown. Mania phase initiated. Let's dive in. Today we're dissecting the Milk Road newsletter
Oh, yeah.
and their take on crypto hitting the mainstream. Milk Road, that calming voice of reason in
Yeah.
this crazy crypto world.
They do have a knack for cutting through the noise.
Right. So they're calling it a mania phase.
Uh,
Has crypto really gone mainstream?
wow.
What are the signs?
Yeah.
And what does this all mean for you,
Right.
our listeners?
So Milk Road uses this interesting concept of news pockets
Okay.
to explain how awareness spreads.
News pockets.
It's like these expanding circles of attention.
Let's unpack that.
Okay.
What are these news pockets?
Well, imagine the innermost circle is where the hardcore crypto folks live.
Right.
You and I are probably somewhere in there talking about the latest DeFi protocols and whatnot.
Definitely. Then the circle expands.
Exactly. The next layer might be people who are into pop culture.
Yeah.
Maybe they hear about Diddy launching his own token or something.
Okay. I'm with you. Keep going.
Then it widens further to things like U.S. elections,
Right.
topics that are on most people's radar. And finally, you hit that outer ring.
Okay.
The global news everyone's talking about, like the pandemic was.
So Milk Road is saying crypto is jumping from that inner circle out to those bigger audiences.
Yeah.
Is that what they mean by mania phase?
It's one of the signs for sure.
What?
Remember those classic market cycles, like
Yeah.
the Gartner hype cycle?
Uh-huh.
Media attention is often a signal that we're climbing towards the peak of inflated expectations.
So basically, the more people are talking about it, the more likely it is we're in a mania phase.
It's not a perfect indicator,
Okay.
but it's definitely something to watch.
Right.
And Milk Road points to Bitcoin hitting $100,000
Yeah.
as a possible trigger for this media frenzy.
Bitcoin hitting six figures. It definitely made a splash.
Yeah.
But is that really enough to send the whole market into a frenzy?
Well, think about the psychological impact. Big round numbers like that tend to capture people's imaginations. It creates headlines, draws in new investors, and fuels the hype cycle.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this idea of expanding news pockets.
Right.
And Bitcoin hitting a major milestone.
Uh-huh.
What other evidence does Milk Road point to for this so-called mania phase?
They highlight some pretty interesting examples of mainstream media coverage,
Okay.
even from outlets that have historically been skeptical of crypto. Like, remember the Financial Times actually issued an apology to crypto holders
Right.
after Bitcoin hit $100?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
The Financial Times, the bastion of traditional finance, apologized to crypto folks.
It was definitely tongue-in-cheek.
That's hilarious.
But it also reveals a shift in their perspective.
Okay.
And they followed it up with an article about meme coins, which is pretty surprising
Wow.
for a publication like the FT.
Meme coins in the Financial Times, that's a sign of the times for sure.
Yeah.
Are there any other examples like that?
Even the BBC got in on the action.
Really?
They interviewed a finance professor
Wow.
who was talking about Bitcoin's potential to keep rising
Interesting.
due to FOMO, especially among younger investors.
So we've got the Financial Times, the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
Are they just jumping on the bandwagon for clicks, or is there something more to it?
It's probably a bit of both,
Yeah.
but it does show that crypto is no longer being ignored by these mainstream outlets.
Yeah.
It's becoming a part of the broader conversation.
And Milk Road mentioned Bitcoin being featured prominently on the NBC News website, right?
Right.
They were discussing how financial advisors are seeing growing interest in digital currencies from their clients.
Right. So even those who manage money for a living
Yeah.
are starting to take notice. It's becoming harder and harder to dismiss crypto as a fringe phenomenon.
It's like that saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
Yeah,
Maybe crypto's entering that then they fight you stage.
perhaps.
Okay.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still a lot of skepticism and uncertainty surrounding crypto.
Fair enough, but it's pretty clear that something is happening here, right?
Yeah,
Crypto is breaking through to a wider audience.
definitely.
So what does all this mania mean for investors like our listeners?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll dive deeper into in the next part of this deep dive.
Okay.
But for now, let's just acknowledge that we're in uncharted territory.
Right.
This level of mainstream attention is unprecedented,
Yeah.
and it's likely to have a significant impact on the market.
So we've established that crypto is in the spotlight like never before.
Yeah.
But what's driving all this interest? Is it just hype, or is there real substance behind it?
Right.
We'll get to the bottom of that and more in just a second.
Sounds good to me. All right, let's dig into some of the forces driving this surge in crypto interest. Milk Road dropped a pretty mind-blowing figure. $3.85 billion
$3.85 billion.
into digital asset investment products in a single week.
Hold on. $3.85 billion in just 1 week. That's insane. What's fueling those kinds of numbers?
It's a combination of factors, really. Bitcoin attracted about $2.5 billion of that inflow.
Okay.
Which isn't surprising given its recent price surge.
Okay.
But what's really interesting is that Ethereum saw a record inflow of $1.2 billion.
So it's not just Bitcoin riding this wave.
Right.
Ethereum is making some serious moves too.
Uh-huh.
What does that tell us about the market?
It suggests that investors are looking beyond just Bitcoin, exploring other cryptocurrencies with strong fundamentals and potential for growth. Ethereum, with its smart contract capabilities and the burgeoning DeFi ecosystem, is naturally attracting a lot of attention.
Makes sense. It's like people are realizing there's a whole universe of crypto out there beyond just Bitcoin.
Exactly. And this diversification of investments is actually a healthy sign for the market.
Okay.
It means the ecosystem is maturing and investors are becoming more sophisticated.
Speaking of sophistication, Milk Road highlighted something that really caught my eye. Bitcoin ETFs now hold over 1.1 million Bitcoin. That's more than Satoshi Nakamoto,
Yeah.
Bitcoin's mysterious creator, is thought to own.
That's a pretty significant milestone. It signifies that institutional adoption is happening at an accelerating pace.
Right.
These large investment vehicles are making big bets on Bitcoin, signaling a growing confidence in its long-term value.
So it's not just retail investors and crypto enthusiasts anymore.
Right.
The big players are getting involved. And that's bringing in a whole new wave of capital. Does that mean we're heading towards a world where Bitcoin is as mainstream as stocks and bonds?
It's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that crypto is still a relatively nascent asset class.
Right.
It's highly volatile, subject to regulatory uncertainty, and the technology is still evolving.
Right. There are definitely risks involved.
Yeah.
But the potential upside is also huge, which is probably what's attracting so many investors. Milk Road also touched on some other interesting developments.
Oh, yeah.
Like Amazon potentially considering adding Bitcoin to their treasury.
Yes, the Amazon rumor mill, it's always churning.
Right.
But seriously, if a company like Amazon were to make a move like that,
Yeah.
it would send shockwaves through the market.
I bet.
It would be a massive validation of Bitcoin as a legitimate store of value.
It would be like the ultimate seal of approval.
Right?
And then you've got some U.S. states pushing for state-owned Bitcoin reserves.
Right.
It seems like everyone is trying to get a piece of the action.
It's a fascinating trend. It reflects a growing recognition among policymakers
Yeah.
that crypto is here to stay and could play a significant role in the future of finance.
It's like that moment when your parents finally figure out how to use emojis.
Yeah.
Crypto's becoming part of the mainstream conversation,
Uh-huh.
whether traditional institutions like it or not.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of things changing rapidly, Milk Road had a segment about AI agents and their potential impact on the crypto landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been following this at all?
I've heard bits and pieces, but to be honest, it all sounds a bit like science fiction to me.
Sure.
Can you break it down for us non-techie folks?
Of course, think of AI agents as autonomous bots
Okay.
that can interact with the blockchain and execute tasks without human intervention.
Okay.
They can be programmed to do things like analyze market data, make trades, and even participate in DeFi protocols.
Okay, that's starting to make sense. So these AI agents are basically like super-powered trading bots, but with more intelligence and autonomy.
That's a good way to think about it. And as the crypto market becomes more complex and fast-paced, these AI agents could play an increasingly significant role.
But wouldn't that make the market even more volatile and unpredictable?
It's certainly a possibility. Imagine hundreds or even thousands of AI agents competing against each other,
Wow.
all trying to maximize their profits. It could lead to some wild price swings.
That sounds both exciting and terrifying at the same time. Like, are we humans even going to be able to keep up with these AI overlords?
That's a big question and one that we'll have to grapple with as this technology develops.
Right.
But it's also important to remember that AI agents can be used for good as well.
Okay.
They could help to make markets more efficient, reduce human error, and even create new opportunities for investment.
It's like any powerful technology. It can be used for both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on how we choose to develop and deploy it.
Exactly. And Milk Road actually interviewed Pierce Kicks from Delphi Ventures, a leading expert in the AI and crypto space.
Oh, wow.
He had some fascinating insights on how AI agents could be the next big narrative in crypto.
So this isn't just a theoretical concept. There are actual opportunities emerging around this technology. Maybe I need to brush up on my AI knowledge.
It's definitely worth exploring. AI and crypto are two of the most transformative technologies of our time,
Yeah.
and their convergence is likely to have a profound impact on the world.
This is all a lot to process.
I know, right?
Hey, we've got mainstream media going gaga over crypto, billions of dollars pouring into the market, AI agents lurking on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's enough to make your head spin.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but that's the beauty of the crypto space, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
constantly evolving, challenging us to learn and adapt.
I guess that's what keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
But with all this talk of mania and hype, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget about the risks.
You're absolutely right. It's crucial to approach this phase with a level head,
Yeah.
to not get swept up in the FOMO and make impulsive decisions.
Yeah.
Remember, this is your money,
Right.
your future we're talking about.
So before we get carried away with dreams of Lambos and moon landings, let's take a moment to ground ourselves. What are the potential downsides of this cryptomania,
Okay.
and how can investors protect themselves?
That's an excellent point, and one we'll delve into in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the potential risks of this market frenzy and offer some practical advice on how to navigate this wild crypto landscape.
Sounds good. Let's jump right back into it. Okay, so we've got this mainstream media buzz, billions of dollars flowing, and AI agents lurking on the horizon. It really does feel like crypto is having a moment.
Definitely.
But with all this excitement comes a dose of reality, right? What are the risks of this cryptomania?
Mm-hmm.
And how can investors like our listeners protect themselves?
Yeah, it's like we're on this rocket ship, but we need to make sure we have a parachute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those parachutes. What are some red flags investors should be watching out for in this market?
Well, one of the biggest risks in a mania phase is FOMO,
Oh yeah, FOMO.
the fear of missing out. When you see prices skyrocketing and everyone around you is seemingly getting rich,
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up in the hype and make impulsive decisions.
It's like when your favorite band announces a surprise show and you just have to be there,
Yeah,
even if the tickets are 3 times the normal price.
exactly. But remember, investing shouldn't be driven by emotions.
Right.
It's important to stick to your plan, do your research, and not let the fear of missing out cloud your judgment.
So how can listeners avoid falling into that FOMO trap? Any practical tips?
Absolutely. A good starting point is to set clear investment goals
Right.
and stick to them.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself, why am I investing in crypto?
Mm-hmm.
What am I hoping to achieve?
Right.
And what level of risk am I comfortable with?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like having a roadmap before you set off on a journey.
Right.
You know where you're going and how you're going to get there.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to take profits along the way.
Okay.
It's easy to get greedy when prices are going up. But remember, no one ever went broke taking profits.
True.
Secure some gains to lock in your wins and help mitigate potential losses.
So secure profits, got it. Anything else investors should keep in mind?
Diversification is key.
Diversification.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially in a volatile market like crypto. Spread your risk by investing in a variety of assets.
Yeah.
Not just different cryptocurrencies, but consider other asset classes as well.
Right. Don't bet the whole farm on one horse. Spread those bets around a bit. That's good advice for any investment, not just crypto.
Exactly. And finally, remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
The crypto market is still relatively young, and there will be ups and downs along the way.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged by short-term fluctuations.
So stay calm, stay informed, and stay focused on the long term. That sounds like a pretty good mantra for navigating this cryptomania, wouldn't you say?
I couldn't agree more. And remember, resources like the Milk Road newsletter
Yes,
can be incredibly helpful for staying informed and getting a balanced perspective on the market.
absolutely. Milk Road does a fantastic job of cutting through the noise and delivering those bite-sized insights that help us make sense of this crazy world.
They're like that friend who always knows the best restaurants, the coolest events,
Right.
and the latest gossip. They keep you in the loop without overwhelming you.
Love that analogy. So to all our listeners out there, whether you're seasoned crypto veterans or just starting your journey, remember to stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay ahead of the curve.
And how do you stay ahead of the curve?
By subscribing to Milk Road, of course. You can find the link in the description below.
Stay ahead, subscribe to Milk Road.
Until next time, happy investing.
See ya!